there we went. Here we are back again. Hey, wait, you're taller than me. What's up?
Oh, I'm just really working on my posture lately.
I'm like, what? What just happened?
I don't know. I just
you don't have to slump for me.
Let me just slump like I usually do. It's like when I'm on camera, I'm like, but really in real life, I'm like this when I'm on the computer.
Oh my gosh. How many of you guys out there have already started, doing your just forehead and Zoom meetings where like you rest your head on your desk, fingers still on the keyboard, you're kind of like this, and it's just like, okay, I'm here for the meeting, lay it on me.
I just prefer to, like, when I'm in a meeting, just say my camera doesn't work and I just cover it.
Everyone's like, no.
Yeah, no, that's not how it works.
You're live every day. There's no way your camera doesn't work.
It's true. And Brent, so we were just talking, you and I, before the show about some of the hardware announcements that Amazon just announced, and we were talking about the Ring. Can you tell me about that again?
Holy cow. So, I mean, this is straight out of the future. Like, I just can't even believe this is going to be real. But it looks tiny in the picture anyway, a tiny little drone that if your Ring alarms goes off, it will take flight out of its base and fly to wherever motion was detected and record video for you, and then stream that to your phone so that you can see what's going on in real time. Like, how cool is that? That is so amazing. I would have to text my neighbor and be like, are you home and available? Can you go look at, whatever? And instead, like, I'll have a drone that can do it now. So that is so cool.
I mean, this is where we're going. Yeah. And like, imagine, I was saying, like, I just want a fleet of these things in my house. I just want 10. So there's just constantly drones surrounding my home,
That's right. If it's a burglar, they can attack, they can swarm, try and poke their eyes out,
Well, it's not a bad idea. Attach little, like ninja stars to it or something, so it could just,
That's right. Fly high enough that the burglar can't reach them, but it just drops ninja stars.
Yes, that's all.
I love the mix of like ninja stars from the 80s with flying drones from the future. Yes. So it's amazing.
It's kind of like a dream come true to build my fortress. And we have some regulars here. Cube Jerome. Hello.
It's not a show without Cube Jerome chiming in. Hello. Here we go.
I agree. Murali, hello. Welcome back. Good afternoon. It's afternoon here too. Okay.
Yeah. You fell into the same trap I fell into the other day. I did that exact same thought process.
And that's, by the way, that's exactly what happened. I remembered. My brain recalled that memory and said, "Oh, okay, stop." So my brain functions. And of course, we're going to be talking about Copilot today. So we have, again, Brent and I have said this, but I think our favorite humans. And by the way, I say this not in a negative way about everyone else at AWS.
That's true.
But I've met the Copilot team, and they are my favorite humans at AWS. So,
yes.
Hello.
If you ever need just a pick me up, you've had a bad day, like go scroll through that team's Slack channel, and everyone is just so super nice to everyone else and so supportive that I just am like, oh, this is nice, and I suddenly feel better. So
it reminds me that there's some beauty in this life. So Wari21, hello, welcome back.
Yeah, but don't just join for the opening small talk. I mean, right. we talk about fun things throughout. So hang around for sure.
We do. And really quick, while we're talking, Brent, I'm going to do something really quick. So if you recall, quick little recap. We use Copilot to deploy a front-end service. We have a three-tier microservices stack that we're going to work on deploying with Copilot. So 2 days ago, I deployed the front end. It's been running. Everything's great. So if I do just to show you really quick, Copilot service status. We're going to see I have 3 tasks running under that service. Everything's looking good. We mentioned auto scaling. So to enable auto scaling in Copilot, it is quite literally as simple as adding your range of tasks, and then for either CPU or memory, what is that percentage that you want to deem as your scaling event? Like, right, what's going to trigger that scaling event? So I am just really, and the reason I'm doing this, by the way, right now is because I want to come back to it a little later, and we're going to see how it auto scales. Okay, awesome. So that's it. So I've literally just set my range, and I want my CPU percentage to be that.
So you're targeting 20%.
Exactly. Thank you.
Sweet. I have to address though. AJ Potato says hello, Brent Contains. So hello back, AJ Potato, and Nick Merckx look alike.
So yeah, for those who don't know, he's a famous video game streamer, and AJ Potato has told me I look like him before. Yes. I like to say he looks like me, but technically he has like on any given show he has like 60,000 viewers at a time. So
I know you should charge him a royalty at least.
I really, again, I think he has the clout over me. So
yeah, that's true.
Okay, so I'm just going to quickly add this because I have a pipeline. So adding auto scaling, and then we're just going to push. So, and then Brent, while I do this, do you want to say hello to our friends? Are there more friends saying hello?
There are. So a name I don't recognize, Jeffrey Milan, maybe. Maybe are you from Milan? That would be awesome. We have a coworker in Milan. But says nice to see everyone. So good to see you too. Hope to have a new regular on the show. So definitely shout out anytime you're back watching the show. And it's probably worth mentioning we weren't on yesterday because there was a scheduling conflict, and we're doing our best to work through those and eliminate those. And we actually debated still doing the show from our own custom Twitch only. And we decided against it. We didn't think it was quite big enough just yet. But if you aren't following us over at twitch.tv/AWS containers, definitely do throw a follow over there. And the next time there's a scheduling conflict, what we'll do is, well, if it's big enough, what we'll do is we'll stream into that Twitch channel, and we'll leave off the AWS Twitch channel where there's a scheduling conflict. So yes, we're doing our best to eliminate those, but these things sometimes are scheduled super far in advance. So we're working around them whenever we can. Yes. Are you going to let the Sam Lambda guys take over this channel? No, we're not going to leave this channel. So you definitely you will find us here also. But there's a couple of issues at play. Like, for example, today, you probably didn't get a push notification from the AWS channel, but you did if you were subscribed to the AWS Containers channel. So it's a way of sort of customizing who you're going to get a push notification from. And then also it's a way for us to still have our own space for those rare occasions when we need it.
Yes.
There's Alex Smasha. I see.
Hey.
And I saw you say to Edge Geek on his show a while back that he's your favorite. So what's up with that? I thought we were your favorite.
But he is so cool. I can't blame him.
Yeah, he is cool for sure. And Jeffrey Milan says, thanks for sharing your expertise again. And he's in Mountain View. That's awesome. I used to visit Mountain View all the time. Love that little town. So that's cool.
Okay, so I had a typo in my code, so I had to repush. So I just decided to deploy locally. But one thing that is cool to point out in the pipeline, so I pushed a broken config. So my pipeline is going to fail. But what's nice about Code Pipeline is I pushed my next change, and that is going to come in right after. So it's just basically, it's just going to start right behind that other change.
Boom, boom. So that actually brings up an interesting topic that people always, seem to want to talk about. Is it better to roll back or to roll forwards? And I'm a big fan of roll forwards. I think roll back has lots of complexity. It is possible to, like, in my head, if you get revert, that's still rolling forward. So like if you want to handle it at a code level and roll back the code, but you're still rolling forward the infrastructure, that's totally fine. But if you're trying to actually, like if there was a situation where you wanted to go back to the previous artifact and redeploy that, that would have been, slightly complicated. So I think rolling forward, if there's ever a mistake that you're trying to work through, is an excellent way to go. So Alex Smasher wants to correct the record. He says, "No, hold. I said he was cool. We can check the logs."
I like that.
Yeah,
we can check the receipts. Very good. All right, so I'm going to throw some load at our front end service right now. And so I'm using Siege. It's just an open source framework for load testing. So I'm basically just hitting the ALB URL. And what's going to happen is we're going to see it slow down a little bit on the front end. And ideally, by the time this show is done, we're going to have all of our services. We're going to be scaled to, I said the max was 100. Let's see if we can get there by the end of the show. So we're going to leave it at that. Now,
by the way, when we designed this particular app stack, the front end is Ruby on Rails, and we picked it because it's slow. So, and because it, takes a lot of CPU and that sort of thing. So scaling it, and then couple that with the fact that, Adam set the target percentage to 20%. That's really, really conservative. You wouldn't normally pick a number that low, but you might pick like 80%.
Exactly.
But we did those things in order to better demonstrate autoscaling. So those two factors, coupled together means we should be scaling this thing out really significantly. And if we talk just a second about this is target tracking autoscaling. And historically, it's actually been a little bit difficult to set up. ECS came along and made it easier. But what is it? What is target tracking? So normally what happens is when you reach a certain, with autoscaling, when you reach a certain high threshold, you go over it, an alarm goes off, and you scale up. And then there's a separate low threshold when you're scaling in, that once you go below it, you scale in the number of services. But you're constantly having to sort of tweak that high and low number. And what target tracking does is it just says, no, I want to maintain this level. So as long as my average, in this case, we're using CPU utilization, as long as my average CPU utilization is hovering at 20%, and it's plus or minus 5% on either side, as long as we're in that range, then we have the right deployment. If we're above that range, then we need more. If we're below that range, then we need less. And that makes it a much simpler thing to wrap your mind around and manage, because you're just managing one number. And we're, adding and removing to try and keep you at that one number within some maximums of 100 or minimums of, is your minimum 1?
Minimum 1, max 100. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So perfect.
Let me zoom in more so it's easier. But yeah, and also, by the way, to just add to that, it's not just going to immediately scale to 100, right? It's going to essentially, it's going to start with a certain amount. It's going to recognize we're still not at 20%. It gets a little more aggressive, and it progressively just gets a little more aggressive in its scaling out to make sure that you're at that target number.
And it still does that based on math. So it's going to see that how far over the threshold are you, and it's going to do a calculation and try and figure out how many more should I add to bring you back to the 20%. But what it can't factor in is once those are added into the pool, then the overall average is still going to change because Siege is going to ramp up. You know, if Siege was sending a very constant amount of traffic, then this would level off almost immediately to its new healthy number. Yeah. But once Siege sees, hey, there's, you know, the transactions per second are going up, it's going to continue to send more and more and more traffic at the same time, and that's just going to cause this thing to continue to ratchet upward. So it's really cool in that respect.
Yeah, so it's already started to auto scale, and I just wanted to show you in the console. If you go to the ECS service, you can see here's my auto scaling. This and you can have multiple metrics, by the way. It's not just the one. You can have multiple auto scaling metrics, but it's here. So that's really nice. But even nicer is if I don't want to leave the command line, I could see here, and it's hard to read because I have it so zoomed in, but within the service status, I can see the alarms, and you'll notice there's two alarms. So the first alarm is to reach that target threshold of 20%, right? So that number, I need to be at 20% CPU utilization across all my services. So that if that health check is in an alarm state, it's going to auto scale up or out. Now the second alarm is, are we below 20%, and can we scale in? And so that's one thing that I guess if you're first coming into this, looking at this, you wonder, why are there two health checks? I don't get it. I just wanted to explain that so it's understood.
Exactly. It's the minimum and maximum threshold that we're trying to stay between. And like I said before, you know, used to the old way of doing this, you would have to manage both of those numbers, and they would be like numbers, not percentages. And now by having it be a percentage and you're specifying just the middle of the road, then we can, you know, keep the numbers monitored on both sides. So Simple Coders says, wow, this one's going to be fabulous, but I can't really watch it because IT, I'm guessing. Oh, because it is still working time. Feels bad, man. So yeah, we're going to have this archived over on our YouTube channel, and you can also find it at containersfromthecouch.com. So feel free, watch it anytime you want. But if you want to hang out and chat with us live, then definitely hang around. And then he asks, where can I find the code? So, and then someone else actually asks, what's the Copilot CLI command? So maybe let's recap yesterday a little bit and just talk about Copilot CLI, what it is and where do you get it?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think sometimes we make assumptions. Okay. So, oh, good. Sharing some workshop links. Very good. Yeah. By the way, Copilot will be, this functionality will be in ecsworkshop.com as well. So by the end of this week, you'll be able to do what we're doing on your own.
That's so right. Yeah.
The Copilot, it's a command line utility that basically, and you can see here it's open source tool that basically, I said that I had a tweet yesterday that I really liked, and it essentially it makes the developer experience very streamlined. It abstracts the boilerplate of understanding all the networking components and all the resources behind the scenes, and just allows you to focus on your code, your container, and then how to get it deployed. So we had the ECS CLI, our previous generation. It's still out there, still working, but this is like the next generation of the command line experience with ECS. So with simple commands, you can basically stand up a service. Am I on? Am I good?
You're good. I'm getting a tab ready to share.
Oh, cool. Okay. You can set up pipelines, CI/CD pipelines, and it's all literally just one command, and there you go. Oh, nice.
Nice. So Coey Dave actually shared this in chat and then said it's the new service status UX for VO5, which is not yet released. But here's a little preview, and look how neatened up the alarm and the events are. Check that out. You have like, let me see. Can I?
And I love those colors. I love the colors.
Totally, yeah. Let me see if I can make this bigger. But yeah, you have like the most recent bit of information, but then you can scroll and you can see all the alarm events, request count greater than 100 for 3 data points within 25 minutes. You see, things that are okay, things that went into alarm, and you get it all in columns, so it's really, really easy to read. You get line breaks to be able to break the events apart. So that's awesome. And
Very
that's
nice.
coming up in the next release.
So going back, you can see I just ran, and by the way, you can also output in JSON. So if you want to programmatically interact with your service, you can use JSON, pipe it to JQ, and now you can really drill down into just what you need. So you can see here we have 12 running since I've triggered the auto scaling, or I triggered load, I enabled auto scaling, and now it's desired 50 tasks. So it started small, right? It only did a few, it got up to 12. Now it's realizing, okay, based on the math, big data.
Exactly. Except
we've determined that we need to be a little more aggressive. And so that's what's happening.
That's awesome.
And so you can see this is our front end app. And what it does is it shows you when you call into the service, what task, what container is actually responding to you, what its IP address is, what availability zone it's in. So.
Oh, and Pavan throws in the docs link for AWS Copilot. And Texan Raj asks, hey, by the way, welcome back, Texan Raj. Good to see you again. Is Copilot like CDK for ECS? And I would say yes and no. It's the new official CLI for ECS, and it's developer first. So CDK definitely makes creating infrastructure easier, gives you high-level constructs and all that. Copilot takes that even further and says, if you don't want to deal with any programming and you just have a set of containers that you want to deploy out to Fargate managed by ECS, then we have the workflow for you. And it takes care of generating everything, and it gives you a developer CLI to be able to interact with your services and build your pipeline and see what the current status is and get logs and all that stuff that you might need to do as a developer or an operator.
Exactly. And I kind of look at it like this, like if you're coming into ECS or you're just coming into containers or even AWS for that matter, and you don't have a grasp on everything AWS, networking, and all the different components that go into getting started, this gets you in right away. Like there's nothing blocking you from just getting a container deployed, and frankly, deploying a multi-tier service or application, right? Like it's not just I have one app, I just need it behind a load balancer. No, it's I have one service behind a load balancer that can talk to hundreds of services. I need some way to just do all that. Yes.
Did you want to deploy a backend?
I kind of did.
Okay.
Thanks for reminding me. So let's go to our ECS demo Node.js service. Great point. And so again, we're going to follow the same workflow. So what we should see here is we have our front end, but let's see our application actually communicate with a backend service. So yeah. I am going to follow the same process I did 2 days ago, which if you didn't see that, check that video out where we deployed the front end service. But I'm just going to run a Copilot init. It's going to ask me, do I want to deploy this to an existing application? So I explained it in the previous session. I'll explain it again really quick. The application is the structure of all of your services that are going to be deployed. So think of an application as, Amazon.com is the application, but then the cart service, then there's the front end service, then there's 8 billion other services. So look at it like that, though. So we already have our application, which is ECS Workshop. And again, this is why I say like the barrier of entry is so low here, because with this interactive CLI, it's going to help me get to where I need to go. So I already have an application that exists, ECS Workshop. Now I'm going to deploy the type of service. So I already have a load balance web service. That's my front end. Now I want to deploy a backend service that can be talked to via service discovery, but it doesn't need a load balancer. So we're going to choose backend, and then we're going to name it Node.js. And then it's going to ask me where my Docker file is. So this particular Docker file actually has a health check defined in it. And I mentioned previously that Copilot actually reads your Docker file and pulls out some key metrics or some key data values to populate in the manifest. So one of those is the port. So you can see it recognized we want to expose this on port 3000. But another one is the container health check itself. So we'll look at the manifest when it's done. And what's happening now, so I've initialized my service. So I have a front end service. Now I'm initializing one of my back end services. It's creating all the kind of the baseline resources that I need. So
ECR registry, IAM role to be able to push and pull images. If it had to create a cluster, it would. In this case, it's gonna put things into the existing cluster. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. It takes care of a lot of stuff that you don't have to think about, which is awesome.
Yep. And so now I have my environment, which I'm deploying to. And as you mentioned, like the cluster already exists with the service discovery namespace, everything I need. So basically it runs a Docker build for me. It's building my image. It's pushing it to that container registry. And by the way, it's also ensuring that my cluster can pull this image from ECR. So there's, when we talk about building this on your own, there's VPC, there's security groups, there's IAM, there's quite a bit, right, to have to think about. I have not had to think about any of those things so far, so for me, it's always about how can I make the experience easier so I could focus on really what matters. And that's whatever application I'm building to serve the business or to serve my customers, whatever that is. That should be the focus.
Because ultimately, what do you want your workflow to be? I want to edit code, save, test. Edit code, save, test. Edit code, save, test. I'm happy, build, and just like have that, check that code in, have it go off and be handled by some other robot. So, and in fact, we were talking about the drones flying around your house. Like, yeah, exactly. I want a robot. I want this stuff to be automated, the things that I don't care about, and I just want to be able to benefit from it and see the end result.
Yeah, and when we build something like this, we're building a tool like this based off of what our customers' experience is like, and we want to make this an experience. So when you come into this, whether you're brand new or you're advanced, it's an experience that you can jump in wherever you are in your journey, if you will, and you'll feel comfortable.
Exactly.
Copilot pipeline. Well, absolutely. So we actually did. So we did cover that in the last session, but so basically what we did was we did a Copilot pipeline init. By the way, try saying Copilot pipeline 5 times fast. It's very hard.
Were you
say
typing
it one time?
Did you just type that?
This?
There you go. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You typed and cleared, and then as you were saying it finally, there was no typing, and I was like, "Is he typing?"
This is called ADD. I suffer from this. This is my life. I type clear. You've caught me in my truest form here. So I had my pipeline deployed. So it's my front end pipeline, and you can see I just ran a pipeline status, and there it is. And by the way, so we can actually, let's deploy a Node.js pipeline right now. So first of all, let me see if I have the remote. I do. Perfect. So let's do that. Let's do a Copilot pipeline init. Would you like to add an environment to your pipeline? Yes. I have a test environment right now. Let's do that. We're going to choose my repo, and then it's going to ask me for my personal access token. Were you going to say something? Sorry.
No.
Okay. That was just a
That was
I heard.
Probably me just saying words.
Totally. Understood. It happens. So that's it. I've initialized my pipeline. And with my pipeline being initialized, it gives me a pipeline YAML, which is where I define my stages. And then it gives me a build spec YAML. I mentioned this last time, but a build spec is essentially we use code build behind code pipeline when it comes time to build your Docker images. That's basically what this is doing, right? So,
but you didn't have to write it, and you didn't have to like set up the pipeline or construct it or figure out how it all works or anything like that. Like it just takes care of that for you.
Yes, and that is half the battle, right? Like frankly, to build a pipeline, there's quite a bit that goes into it. So I've literally had to think about 0 of that. So what I have to do now is I just add my Copilot directory. I'm going to commit. Okay, little slowness there. Adding pipeline, fun. Okay, and then we're going to git push. I'm going to push it to my upstream because I don't want to override that branch. And I'm using tokens. Normally I use SSH, but
right.
I'm just using
normally you would use SSH and wouldn't get prompted.
Yeah. So here we go.
Also,
so I've pushed.
Have you used GitHub's code spaces yet?
I have not.
It's kind of cool.
I need to try it. Also, the GitHub CLI.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I need to try that myself.
But aren't you scared, though, if you use that, you're going to forget Git commands?
I feel like I've already forgotten Git commands, and now I only have my Zesh aliases, GDP and PE, and all the other ones that I just run from muscle memory. So I don't know if you saw. I know Adam, you did, but anyone in the audience?
Look at what I typed. Look at what I typed. This is how I think. Co-pipeline. I'm sorry. Go on. I'm sorry.
It's a great name. We should have another service named that.
Yeah, Co-pipeline.
But no, I get pushed a couple weekends ago. I get pushed, and then like as soon as the push was completed, my laptop died, and I lost my laptop, and I was like, well, crap. But at least I pushed my code, and that was all simply because of muscle memory. Like I had finished something, I had saved, and so the very next thing I did was git commit, git push, and man, I'm so lucky I did, because if I had even waited 5 extra seconds, I would have lost all that work. So love it.
Yeah, good thing you did that. So I created a pipeline. That was it. I did a Copilot pipeline init. I did a Copilot pipeline update. I pushed my code to Git, which was the YAML files. I then did a Copilot pipeline update. It built my pipeline, and now I have a pipeline for my service, for my Node.js service.
One thing I love about this is you could, in theory, never, ever, ever go look at the console. You could manage the entire life cycle of your services and never interact with the console. I love that. And by the way, that's actually a really awesome thing about this is some enterprises will actually turn off console access. So it's amazing.
I have to say, I think this is my favorite comment ever. How can I explain to an interviewer I'm using Copilot and just skip the hard stuff? I totally agree. But you know what?
You should.
And you should tell them, because what I focus on is business value, and I want to focus on the code I'm writing and less on everything else.
That's right. Keep it simple. It's all about simplicity. Bingo. Coey Dave says git pull -- rebase for life. Not necessarily, Coey Dave, because now you can set rebase as the default for git pull. You can add that to your config. So then you don't even need dash rebase.
But Brent, the idea is we don't want to forget. We don't want to forget the commands. You know, I refuse. I have to do everything in full.
I'm
otherwise
sure
my brain will forget
too. So it's like, you know, stating the obvious. That's new Gen Z stuff. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Gen
Z, you're like, why not flying drones? That makes perfect sense. Like,
right. Like, yeah, obviously. Okay, so let's talk about what we've done. So we've deployed our service. Now our back end is being recognized from our front end. It's a little broken. And Brent, I'm going to give you a guess as to why it's broken. You may not know why, because I only explained it last time.
Because we can't read from the metadata service?
Right. So we can't do that, but also because our container, because the metadata for 1.3 in Fargate, platform version 1.3 doesn't expose availability zone, we have to use the AWS CLI or the SDK to basically talk to AWS, build an IAM role that allows us to talk and attach it to our task. So let's do that now and let's fix this nonsense. What do you say?
Yep.
Okay. So I am not Copilot.
So you're talking about, you're going to do this with like custom CloudFormation, aren't you?
Exactly. So there's the, I'm sorry, add-ons, ECS demo Node.js. And then here, I'm going to make a directory called add-ons. Now in the add-ons directory, this is where I can introduce custom CloudFormation. So as you get more advanced in your use case, you're most likely going to need a database. You're going to need something, which, by the way, we talked about this in the last show. But you can also do a storage init with code. I'm never going to be able to say it again. With Copilot, you can create an S3 bucket through Copilot as well as a DynamoDB table. So it's making it easier and easier. And eventually there will be RDS support. So you can Copilot init, storage init RDS. And there you go. There's your Aurora serverless database or whatever is supported at that time. So I need an IAM role. I'm going to take that role from my front end service. Oh, I got to go back, way back. Oh, one more. Front end, and then my Copilot directory. And then you'll see I have this, and then add-ons. And here I have a task role. So if we look at this task role YAML, basically all I'm doing is creating a policy that allows my task to run the EC2 describe subnets command. And I'm outputting this. So one of the requirements to get this role attached to my task or my service is to output it. So I just simply output the role ARN, and it's going to do the rest for me. So I have it here.
Cool about that is it gives you the ability to customize your environment without having to completely own everything. So you don't have to just say, oh, Copilot can't do that, so I can't use Copilot, and then have to go and like completely create all the CloudFormation from scratch. You can still use Copilot, but you just tweak it in this one little way, including the custom CloudFormation. And again, you're focusing on the pieces that matter to you, and you let the boilerplate take care of itself, be taken care of by Copilot.
Yes. And also, so let's actually look, Copilot service logs. So my service isn't working. Let's figure out why. And again, it has that really nice interactive experience. So I can also pass a name here as well as a task ID. So I don't have to deal with this, but it's just nice to have. So you can see, these are just my error logs, but actually let's do Copilot service logs help. How far back can I go? I want to, oh boy, I can do start time.
1 hour is kind of cool.
Let's try that. Since 1 hour. Oops, did I leave help in there?
Yeah.
That's such an Adam move. Okay.
It's all good.
So there we go. But it's not enough. So what I need is, I need to see the beginning of the logs. So let's do the
Since
help.
forever.
Right, like I need to go back to the beginning and see that. Anyways, I'm not really sure how to do that, but maybe my friends can help me in the chat. But also,
they're just laughing at you.
Yeah, that's okay. I love that. I can't follow the logs. So take a look. I'm following the logs for all of my Node.js services running. And by the way, if you noticed, I didn't deploy my update locally. I pushed it to GitHub. And within a matter of minutes, that fix that I made will be deployed. And we should see the proper availability zone showing. And it's already starting.
Yeah, it's starting to pop in. We're draining old containers and adding in new ones.
So let's talk about that really quick. In that time that we were talking, I added an IAM role to our add-ons. I git commit, git push. I talked about logs for a few minutes, and then the pipeline took care of everything. I mean, that's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
This is the workflow that should enable you to just get shit done. Sorry.
I can't believe you went there. That's awesome.
Sorry. Okay. I just did. I'm going to get fired. So let's look.
Alex Smasher says those logs are cool. Yeah, Ruby logs, they're the best because you get like 1,000 lines of useless stuff and, 1 line of something you actually could use.
Yeah. And boy, that is a lot. But so this is cool. So you can do the since, and I can just keep going way back here.
Did you try Coey Dave's suggestion of doing -- limit 1,000?
Yeah, that's what I was just doing. Now I did limit 10,000.
Oh, so you think it still goes in reverse?
Gotcha. Oh, yeah. Well, I think that the top is the oldest and the bottom is the newest. Yeah, latest.
Gotcha.
So, anyways, it's that's an interesting case there. But anyways, the point is I can see my logs for all my services from the command line, and I deployed a fix, which something happened. But so that should be going through here. Let's refresh. Let's see what pipelines we have. And you can see my Node.js service is running right now, which I could have done this from the command line as well. But sometimes it's nice to look at the console. All right. I want to deploy one more backend service. So now I have my ECS workshop application. I have a front end service behind a load balancer. It talks to my Node.js backend service via service discovery with Cloud Map. And I did this all with just the command line, and I'm not doing custom craziness anywhere. So we're going to follow that same process, Copilot init. Let's pick what we want. This is a backend service. And by the way, as you get more comfortable with this, if you don't want to go through this walkthrough, you don't have to. You can pass these as flags to the command line.
I still love doing the wizard, though. It's nice.
It's really nice. So we're going to name it Crystal. And it found our Docker file. And now it created the manifest. Actually, we already had the manifest. So it didn't create that because it recognized that it already existed. And it's creating the ECR repository. And again, same workflow. I'm going to say yes to deploy it to my test environment. And then it is going to deploy it, create the task definition, create the service with the desired count. And that's it. And deploy it and build my Docker image.
So you could do this for a service team. And basically, the service team can be completely in charge of their own operations, and they have almost, if not all, of the information that they need right there from the command line, and they can troubleshoot, they can see metrics, they can They can deploy, they can see pipeline status, and never have to actually go into the console, and then you as an ops person maybe never have to actually build anything for them. You might help with some custom cloud formation from time to time, but people are good at that. And it's only snippets of cloud formation, not the whole big thing.
Yep. And so Alex Mesh had a really good question. How easy is it to modify the manifest so we can keep scaling out if needed? Great point. Let's look at that. First of all, if we look at Copilot service status, I just had to make sure I wasn't crazy.
You're going to have to alias that to C or something.
Yes, I think so. So I have a lot of tasks running. I'm at 100. We've reached our cap.
Nice.
So based on the metric I've set, which was, again, very aggressive, right? And we can actually really quick, I want to go to CloudWatch. Man, there's just not enough time in the day here, folks. So let's just, I want to just show you the metric alarm. What happened? Where'd you go? Is this because of my dark reader? No. Maybe. Does it not like this?
I don't know. New console.
Cool story here. Okay. Anyways, I'll go back to that. I don't know. Maybe it's just
sometimes the CloudWatch console takes a minute.
So here is our alarm. And we can see we're out of alarm sets, but take a look at my metrics. So we've gone from, we spiked in our CPU utilization to 98% at one point, the average across all our containers. As we auto scaled, look at this now.
Yep.
We're almost, and we'll be at our metric here in no time. Now, if that's not enough, I simply go to my manifest file and let's change this to 10% and let's go to 200. That seems fun.
Whoa.
And by the way, this is all Fargate, so I don't even have servers to think about. Oh, it's so cool. I love this stuff. Are you good? Are you folks having fun with me? Come on.
Oh, yeah, totally.
All right. You were going to say something.
No.
What happened?
I'm just stunned at the 10%. Don't ever set 10% in real life, people.
Oh, you just saw my GitHub key. I'll be sure to delete that afterwards. Oh, I feel like there should be a phone tool icon for that.
Yeah, definitely.
So there we go. Right. It's so true.
Yeah.
And by the way, when we when we added load testing to our backend services like Node.js, it was very different. We had to throw way more load to get that thing to auto scale.
Yeah, it was really hard to get Node.js to scale up more than like from 1 to 3. By the time we got to 3, we were like, okay, we need provision the infrastructure, and we needed more traffic. But Rails, on the other hand, no, we can saturate it pretty easily.
Yeah.
AJ Potato says it's fun until you get the bill. And yeah, absolutely, that's true. And we see the bill, and we're like, wow, but it was worth it, because we're doing it so you don't have to, and you can set all this up the right way.
Exactly. Now, excuse me as I have to go and delete this token here because
yes,
I gotta better be safe than sorry here.
Totally.
I'm just gonna delete them all. Anyways, so no more Git for me today. But so Fargate Spot support coming soon. See, this is nice.
Yep.
Dave, we need to talk capacity providers. I want to hear what's going on. But anyway, so all I did to answer Alex Smash's question was I upped my range. Now I downed the percentage just because I want to just be aggressive and have some fun here. But that's how easy it was. So if I recognize 100's not enough, I need 150 or 200, just change it, push your code to Git. It's going to change the metric and everything for you. So you don't have to worry about it.
Exactly. And that CPU percentage, the nice thing is the the realistic numbers are going to be more like CPU percentage 85% and range. If you did do 1 to 200, um, depending on how it's written or how efficient your code is, you might never even approach 50. You know, you might never even, like we were talking about with Node.js, we never went over 3. But you know, if anything wonky does happen and you get what are they, slash dotted, I don't know what today's version of that is, but you know, if you ever get listed on something and your traffic spikes, then you'll be ready to handle it, and it'll just sort of happen for you in the background, and you don't even have to worry about it.
I
So
think
then
your
couple
slash
that,
dotted is Hacker News, by the way.
yeah, you get hacker newsed. But yeah, then the ability to burst into Spot, that's going to be really cool because Spot is super cheap. And then on top of that, you know, the fact that you aren't provisioning any infrastructure, this is still Fargate and it'll scale back down once the traffic subsides is awesome. And then I got to shout out for one of last week's releases was daily budget alarms. So you can now set a budget alarm for your spend based on spend per day rather than you know, total spend for a given month. So put all that stuff together, use the tools that are at your disposal, and you'll have a really healthy setup, and you'll be able to have good insight into what's happening, but you won't have to be actively monitoring it to see, you know, where am I at? Do I need more? Do I need less? It'll take care of it all for you.
Yep. And by the way,
Good point.
yeah,
Yeah. Why didn't I think of that?
that would have been the easier way to say it. And if I don't want to have any auto scaling, I can just simply specify my count.
Yeah.
So you have both options.
But with it, I mean, it's, you know, used to people wouldn't turn on auto scaling because it was hard and they would have to like pay attention. And with it being that, it's just as easy as setting a count. At this point, you may as well turn on auto scaling. So
Amen. I so agree with that. So we can check the status of my services. You can see here, I have a lot. I'm running 100, but eventually when I just push that change, it's going to update because now my alarms are both okay because we've gone below 20%. At some point, it's going to say 10% and trigger that alarm again. So that's it. And while we were doing all this talking, the second backend service came up. That one already had the IAM role through add-ons. I left everything there. So you can see it just worked. Now,
nice.
I want to see, but if you go to ECS Workshop and you run through this on your own, there's explanations and more interactive ways to get familiar with the different commands. So just know I kind of, you know, breezed through it today, but if you want to do this on your own, definitely check out ECS Workshop. The change will go through by tomorrow, by end of the week. And you'll be able to, run through this on your own, deploy our app and so on. And there's a question around if we can use Copilot with the free tier. We tend to talk about this a lot. So I don't believe there's no Fargate free tier, is there, Brent? No. So ECS, so the orchestrator, ECS, you don't pay for ECS. The way this is built, there's no NAT gateways, so it's a lot leaner.
Right.
So you really just, you'd pay for whatever resources you use. So like Fargate, if you use the smallest possible task size, you're going to pay, maybe in a month, it may end up being a few bucks depending on what you deploy.
Exactly. And, when you're talking about experimenting, experiment, you're going to spend a few cents per hour, most likely. And then when you're done, tear it down. And Copilot makes it easy to do that as well. So don't just leave things running, for weeks and months. Alex Smasha, I think, still leaves Global Accelerator running and keeps forgetting to turn that off. So don't do that. When you're done experimenting, even just for the day, tear it down. And then if you want to like pick up where you left off or start over, the next day, then bring it all back up, and you'll probably only be ticking off a few cents per hour as you go, and set those daily budget alarms so that you can get alerted to the possibility of you going over what you want to spend on a given day, and take advantage of that as well.
Yeah, definitely. But that's it. So, I mean, we moved pretty fast. There's a lot of talking, a lot of conversation, but I just really want to emphasize the simplicity here. But with simplicity, you're not sacrificing functionality. So with the simplicity, I'm getting all the great features that I would expect from an orchestrator, from a scalable, high performant orchestrator with all the goodies around it, service discovery, load balancing. But I don't have to be an expert in it.
Right. You got service discovery, you got load balancing, you got auto scaling, you got log aggregation, you got metrics collection, you got monitoring, you got health checking. I mean, did I leave it? You got CI/CD, you got automatic builds, you got registry created and locked down so that only the right people can push to it and pull from it. I mean, all that stuff you didn't have to think about. You just ran a half dozen at most commands, and it was all there, sitting there waiting for you. It's awesome.
Yeah. And so, by the way, as you play with this, as you test it, we do have, we should wrap up. We do have a public roadmap for this service. Also, if Copilot, you see something you want to add or change, feel free to submit an issue because we want to make this the best.
Yeah, and definitely, if you're interested in containers, stay tuned for the next show on this channel coming up in just 3 minutes. AWS Community Voices is going to be up next, and they're going to be talking about Terraform and provisioning Fargate. So there's going to be some really interesting talks from one of our community heroes, and he's going to be focusing on Fargate containers as well, but he's going to be taking a Terraform perspective. So if you liked the looks of this, you're probably going to be interested in that as well. So I'm going to stick around, so you should too.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next week. Same place, same time.
Cool. See ya.